often in casual conversation do you hear somebody mentioning that they're in therapy? It could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be a coworker, it could be a stranger. How often do you hear about somebody's experience in therapy? Not too often, I imagine. When we're told that somebody's in therapy, we almost feel like we're being told a secret. We're like, wow, that's really personal information. Why is this person telling me this? Or we feel like it's something that we're being told on the DL that's not shareable with anybody else. There's a stigma to it. We're going to talk through stigmas and barriers to getting into therapy, and then finally what we do about it. So thanks for being here. I'm Laura Nicola. I'm your faithful therapist. So let's begin with the stereotypes that exist. There are many, and these stereotypes are what unfortunately lead to mental health stigma, which keeps people from getting the help that they need. So the biggest stereotype in my mind is what mental illness actually is in the first place. So 1 in 4 people suffer from mental illness, and I think everybody has heard that statistic before, right? But when we hear that, we think of the homeless man on the street, or we think of the lady on the bus that's talking to herself, or we think of the war veteran that's struggling with PTSD, or the suicidal person in the mental hospital. We stereotype mental illness as kind of only being part of the extremes of being really mentally ill. And we forget that 1 in 4 can easily be your neighbor, a family member, a friend, your kid's teacher. It could be anybody that is experiencing mental illness, and we might not even know about it because, many people are very high functioning in their mental illness. So, that's a stereotype right there, and it just, it's mental illness is much more encompassing than the stereotype that we make it to be. So that's one that I run into. I think there are also generational stereotypes. For example, the boomer generation was stereotyped to be told, you don't show emotion, you don't tell anybody else what's wrong, you don't give out dirty family secrets. So if you don't do that for anybody like friends, then you certainly don't do it to a stranger. Or think about the millennial generation. They're stereotyped to almost be too flighty to be able to sit and handle therapy, which is just an awful stereotype. Another one is Generation Z. They're stereotyped to be absolutely riddled with anxiety, but also a lot of people just chalk that up to addiction to technology or to their phones. And so they kind of disregard the actual mental health and mental illness components of what's going into that, Generation Z's behavior. There are also cultural stereotypes. For example, many Asian cultures are stereotyped to see therapy as a weakness or something to be ashamed of. Or Hispanic cultures are stereotyped to be told to only rely on family for getting help. So seeking out help outside of the family is wrong. So there's cultural stereotypes as well. There are religious stereotypes. I hear things like, oh, you should probably just talk to your priest or pastor about that issue. You don't need to go to therapy. Or, well, if you're struggling this bad, then it's probably, a lack in your faith life. You should probably pray about it more. Just have more faith in God. That will do the trick. So there's those stereotypes that keep people from getting help. There's financial stereotypes. Unfortunately, part of this is true. I wish mental health help was more easily accessible, but there are resources. A lot of places offer sliding scales. A lot of insurances work on, sliding scales. And there's a lot of resources available. There's different funding, or, some churches, offer to pay for some of my clients' counseling. there are resources available. So that's a stereotype, though. It's a barrier to getting help. But in addition to these stereotypes, there's also just barriers that exist in our own heads. We so easily talk ourselves out of getting the help we need. I don't have time for this. This isn't my priority. My priority is work or financial success or my kids or moving or you name it, right? I don't have time for that. Also, you know what? Maybe I'll just prioritize my physical health and that will work. Maybe I'll just start exercising more and then I'll feel better mentally. Could be true, but it's also just a barrier that we talk ourselves out of getting our help that we need. Or some people just have fear. I can't go there. I can't face my trauma. I can't face what might come up, if I'm psychoanalyzed in counseling, So we easily talk ourselves out of getting the help we need. And in general, what I found is most humans are resistant to change. Most humans are resistant to the unknown. The unknown is scary to us. So for somebody that's never been in therapy before, it can be scary going to therapy for the first time. I can't tell you how many first sessions I've had, where I try to just tell the other person, look, I'm hopefully come off as not an intimidating person. There's nothing to be scared by with this. The first session is usually, let me just get to know you a little bit. What are you wanting to work on? But we convince ourselves, that the unknown of what counseling might entail is far less important than the potential benefits, which is too bad. Another category that people fall into is maybe being a person that thinks therapy is great, thinks that it's beneficial, but for somebody else. So the thought of, convincing somebody else, into getting therapy sometimes sends a shiver down our spine because, maybe we think things like, oh, they'll never listen to me. Or, well, she's just crazy and she's not ever going to get the help she needs. Or, I tried that last year and I nearly got my head bitten off, so no thanks. Not trying that again. So lots of barriers, right? There's lots of stereotypes. There's barriers in our own head. There's an inability to, convince somebody else into getting the help that we think they need in a lot of ways. And then, in my mind, that 1 in 4 people that struggle with mental illness, it's going to be probably 50-50 here soon because we're just not accessing what's available to us, which is really sad to me. But I'm not trying to be an all-downer today. The good news is that I, as of yesterday, launched my website. So this is a big deal to me. It's taken a lot of time to do. And so I'm really excited about it. So it's yourfaithfultherapist.com. You can find it in the About Me section of my channel. So what I've been doing is I've been developing content to put on that website that I want to make available for download. I'm thinking things like worksheets and downloadable guides and potentially courses eventually. I really, really, really want to do a course on anxiety and faith and how we approach that. Content creation takes a lot of time though, I'm finding out. So I chose one thing to start with just so as I launched my website I could have it available. And so my first available resource on my website is a 10-page downloadable guide for how to talk somebody into therapy. My social media accounts the purpose has always been to be supplemental to therapy. Not everybody that follows me is in therapy by any means or needs to be, but my point is that it's not to replace counseling. And so I thought my first resource of how to get more people into counseling was a really good place to start. So be sure to check it out. I'm super excited about it. I'm really excited to hear feedback on people that try it and see if they're successful with it. Basically, I make it a very I make it really easy to follow kind of my steps in order to kind of go in the direction of having a conversation about starting therapy rather than a confrontation. That's kind of been my little slogan, I guess, for the guide. So please check it out. I'm very excited about it. I hope you all are too. Again, it's in my website's in the About Me little part of my channel here. But also, I mean, as always, you can follow me on my Instagram and my Facebook. It's available in those links as well. So be sure to check it out. And hopefully, you know, just my prayer is that we together fight off this stigma of mental health and we really get, you know, ourselves and the people that we love the help they need. So good luck. I hope it's successful and many blessings as always to you today.